Jupiter. So, if you have downloaded the planetary guide, you've probably noticed. Oops, let me X out of this. One second. Ah! So, if you have downloaded the planetary guide, you have likely noticed that I've included like the asteroid belt in here too. So, do look into that as well. There are some very interesting things to consider when it comes to asteroids in astrology. I'm not going to go into them in this course, but I might in additional ones, or I might just create content around it. But if that is of interest to you, I do highly recommend looking up. And you can even type the asteroids into Stellarium and they'll pop up and you can look at them in your chart as well. There's just no interpretations on this, but I may provide them eventually. But there's a lot of interpretations available on the internets if you would like more information right now. All right. Anyway, Jupiter. So for Jupiter, now we are getting into the social planets, which will make a little bit more sense once we talk about the astrological interpretations. But for now, let's just talk about the planet itself. So Jupiter, it takes 12 years for Jupiter to orbit the sun. So meaning that it takes a very long time in comparison to our personal planets. I think remember Mars was the slowest, taking around like I think like 687 days or something like that. So it skips from about let's see, like a little over 2 years, a little under 2 years to 12 years. Okay, so that shows us the distance that these planets are from us. It's a lot further out. There's a lot more happening here. And its cycles quite literally take longer than our personal planets. All right, anyway, so Jupiter actually does have rings. They're just very narrow and not visible to the naked eye. It has 92 moons, okay? And the more you study the different names of the moons, for example, ones like Io and Jupiter has often been associated with Zeus. So if we remember like the story from Taurus where he turns Io into a cow, and now Io is one of the moons of Jupiter. So there's a lot of things like that that you will see, or like the naming of things that will play out, and it's very interesting. So even though, like certain Greek gods are associated with planets, it doesn't necessarily mean that they rule that planet. It just means that long story short, they tried to harness that planet's energy, but it doesn't necessarily mean it belongs to them or that's where like their origin point is from. Anyway, so 92 moons, pretty crazy to have that many moons, and some are larger than Mercury and the Earth's moon. So like these are not small structures whatsoever. Some of these moons may be able to sustain some form of life. So just because like Jupiter is a gas planet, so it's not necessarily having solid surfaces, but that does not mean its moons don't, right? So something could live on those moons and they're just, have access to Jupiter, but whatever, you get it. Maybe you don't, maybe you do. Either way, it's very interesting. So Jupiter has an internal heat source, which again, I think is very interesting when we want to consider like how the planets and like the energy that they have, how that can correlate over to astrological interpretations as well. Of the planets, it has the strongest magnetic field, so electromagnetic field. Of all of the planets, it has the strongest one, meaning that it is the most energetically capable. Like it does have the most energy available to it if it has the strongest electromagnetic field. I might try to link you guys to a video. It's of how the different planets absorb the magnetivity, electromagnetic radiation from the sun, how each different planet takes it in. It's very fascinating stuff. Like visually, it's pretty incredible. And that is what creates the auroras, or the northern lights, is actually like the electromagnetic fields interacting with the sun. So very interesting. Anyway, so Jupiter has clouds and storms. The red spot on the red eye right here of Jupiter. fully rotates every 7 days. So very interesting if you understand like the occult. It's, a 12-year cycle here. 12s in the occult can be very important. And then also sevens are significant as well. So Jupiter is most likely fluid and gas throughout. It says most likely because, they haven't really been in there yet. So maybe one day when they're grown-ups, but today is not that day. And that is me talking direct shit to NASA. Me and NASA have beef. That is part of my lore, but whatever. All right, so Jupiter. Astrologically, then, what can we take away from Jupiter? Jupiter represents growth and expansion within our natal charts. So it's interesting because oftentimes we see growth and expansion as really positive things, which it absolutely can be. But consider, overeating. You could grow physically too much. So, for example, if you had like Jupiter in the first or Jupiter in the sixth house, you could definitely like go beyond your limit, and, have to buy a bigger pair of pants because you have grown and expanded beyond where you were. So, most of the time, again, we think of it as like a positive thing, but it can be like too much of a good thing energy as well. Jupiter offers us healing energy. So oftentimes, like think about the vibrational energies of Jupiter. We can tap into those frequencies to work on our healing energies or like ability to heal others as well. Prosperity falls under the rule of Jupiter. Luck, good fortune, excess, like having too much of something or an overabundance of something. Miracles, wealth, foreign travel, and like interest in other cultures, different religions, different belief systems can be represented through Jupiterian energy. The law. So that's interesting because not only like earthly law, but also celestial law, I'm hearing too. Jupiter has its hand in and plays a role in. And blessings, optimism, success. So somebody with, Jupiter near their sun sign, like they might be really like over, maybe like larger than life as a person, but they also might be really, really blessed or really able to see the bright side of things or optimistic, especially if it's in like Sagittarius or Leo or something. These people can be, or people with good Jupiterian energy can be very, very generous. They absolutely love luxury, and all of the finer things in life. Abundance, again, that can be good or bad. So when people say like, I'm manifesting abundance, I'm like, abundance of what, right? Like be specific, first of all. And then also plentitude and influence can come with Jupiterian energy as well. So Jupiter rules both Sagittarius and Pisces. Pisces is co-ruled by Neptune too. So there are two rulers, two Pisces, which is interesting because they kind of act like it to be real. But I really love this Sagittarian energy, this expanding like beyond where you had been or your mindset or your belief system. I think that some really beautiful energy can come through Jupiterian energy, especially when it comes to like luck and good fortune. Sometimes this can really piss people off if they've had to work really, really hard for something. And then somebody, a Jupiterian, can come in and just be like, I just like showed up here and all of a sudden I got this, right? So that can be very frustrating for people that have a different way of like believing that they can accomplish something. So very fascinating. But anyway, that is Jupiter. Oh, so Jupiter is a social planet, meaning that all of these things tend to happen through and with other people. Okay. So, for example, if you are trying to work on healing energy through Jupiterian energy, it's probably not going to be you very isolated. It's more so likely going to be you going to yoga community. You know what I mean? Like something like that, where it's around other people and like the healing energies can bounce off of other people, not just you isolated by yourself. Or like the law, for example, like if you have to file a lawsuit or go through a court system, you're still dealing with other people. So it's not just you on your own standing solitary, it's understanding society and how to, I don't want to say like manipulate others for your benefit, but like understand how the different systems are set up so that you can utilize this energy efficiently. Like for example, I have Jupiter and Gemini in the fifth house. So like the way that I can connect with people, like with other people is through communication and through creation and through having fun, sharing information, which can be Gemini. I was gonna say Gemonic, which is also true because like Gemini energy can be crazy. But anyway, back to Jupiter, or like trolling or having fun, but that often happens online, like with other people. So yeah, like religion, that's another great example. Like you can be very religious by yourself, but going into like a community of other religious people can be a very satisfying experience with this Jupiterian energy. So it's going to play out for everybody differently. We all have a Jupiter placement. I will say that people with Jupiter retrograde tend to have like it's not gonna be easy. I'm not gonna lie. Like I do think probably Venus retrograde and Jupiter retrograde are likely the two most challenging retrogrades to have, like planetary retrogrades, because their energy can be so like amazing. So when it's retrograde, it's like a reevaluate. Like you probably overdid it in a past life, and that's why this life you have that to learn how to like restrain yourself a little bit. So that could be like, if you had like a positive Jupiter in a past life, you may have had all the riches in the world and like everything, but you may have, been like a glutton or like ate yourself to death, right? So that could be this lifetime being like, okay, well now you have to find the ways to restrict that energy to relearn that lesson because we gave you a blessing and you couldn't fucking handle it, and that sucks. So you get it. But anyway, that's Jupiter. Next up we will talk about Saturn.